Here is the one and only Peter Allen.
Thanks a lot. Should we sit down?
Yes, sit down.
Okay.
You could have been a sailor. I could have been a sailor.
Well, yeah.
It's
I
true.
could have.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Did
Bill.
I give you enough of a rave? Because I really felt that way. I saw your show last week. I thought it was tremendous.
That was okay.
It was all right, huh? What does
Well,
it mean, up in... Here, want me to get that for you?
Yeah.
Up in one.
Well, up in one is, it's the area up the front of the stage that's called one. So when you have a solo number, you go up there to sing your big solo number. So I thought it sounded like kind of a nice name for a show since I was coming on Broadway for the first time. I was finally going to be legitimate.
Well, sort of.
Well,
sort of legitimate.
Very legitimate.
I think so. So look, what do you try to do? I mean, obviously you got the material. You do all of your own music. You got tremendous facility. How do you put it into something that becomes, as the ad says, more than a concert? So it's not just a one-man show and a guy sitting at the piano. How do you make it theatrical?
A lot of sweat.
Sweating is important.
Yeah, sweating was real important in this one. Well, what I did was I'd been to New York so many times, and I really wanted to do something more than what I'd done in New York before. And when they said, do you want to do a couple of weeks on Broadway, I thought, if you're going to go to Broadway, why don't you really do something that you'd never done before? So I had choreographers and script writers and a supporting cast and set designers, light designers. For a one-man show, we've got 185 people on the payroll now.
It's a long way from Chris and Peter Allen.
Yeah.
It really is. Whatever happened to Chris, by the way?
Chris is a pilot in Oregon.
Well, I mean,
He's real happy.
good training for a pilot.
Yeah.
Former nightclub performer. You know, I read in the bio of the Playbill, we've never really discussed your early days, but I was trying to figure, where can I look for an influence in your style? And before reading it at intermission, I thought Little Richard.
Little Richard was real important, yeah. Little Richard was the first person from rock and roll that really affected me.
And before Little Richard,
I was Fats Waller, people like that. I didn't really get into any of the Cole Porter, George Gershwin things till I got to New York.
when did you first come through New York?
I got here in '65.
Are there a lot of other great singers and songwriters waiting in Australia to come to the United States? I mean, name some of the others, right?
I think they're already here.
They're all here.
I think they're already here. No, there's a lot. When I went back, I was surprised. When I was in Australia, you really had to leave Australia to do anything because there was it's so small, the population. So once you'd done everything, there was really nothing to do but get out. Now there's a lot of things to do in Australia. You can be a hit in Australia and stay there.
What was doing everything? In other words, what did you do in Australia that made you big down under?
Well, you had to appeal. In Australia, you couldn't just appeal to one section of the population because there wasn't enough of them. So you had to appeal to everyone. At one point, I was doing Alice in Wonderland at 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, and then working in a nightclub at 9, 11, and 1, opening for Francis Faye. So it was...
Alice in Wonderland? You mean children's theater?
Yeah, they had pantomimes in Australia at Christmas.
And was this always, I mean, again, it says in the playbill that your parents literally locked you in your room because they were afraid you're going to run away with, who was it, Bill Haley and the Comets?
I was ready to leave at a pretty early age.
Where are you from in Australia?
I'm from a real small town called Tenterfield. It's like 5,000 people.
And how do you account for, what, did you have a piano in the house?
Yeah, I guess so. There was a piano there, and...
Did you just start...
I just started playing.
Ever take lessons, or...?
No.
Totally self-taught?
Yeah, kind of.
That's amazing. When you get an idea for a song, like, pick any song, say Rio, which is such a pulsating thing, and we shouldn't give away how it's staged, because that's one of the great theatrical moments in the show.
I'd love to see it.
Well, I'd like to get out there and try it for you, but no, I never took the lessons, and I didn't have a piano in the house. But when does it hit you? Like, the melody for Rio.
Well, I mean, it was real easy. Rio was kind of easy because I never have a finished melody, but at this one time I actually did have a finished melody. So I just had this going and all that stuff. So I got there to...
Now, where did that come from? Just in your...
Oh, I just liked that. I think it was a rewrite of an old ballad. I had an old ballad that went like this, you know, and I thought that's boring. So I made it faster and faster until I got to someplace I liked it. And they introduced me to this girl called Adrienne Anderson, who's a New Yorker. And she just moved to California, and they said, would you write a song? She'd written some stuff with Barry Manilow. So she said, do you want to try and write something? And I said, well, you're real lucky because I never have a melody, but today I have this melody like this, you know. So I thought, you know, I could love you if you'd ever leave your husband, or one of those types. And she said, no, she said, you're always writing that kind of stuff. She said, why don't you write something that's just positive and up? She said, like, when my baby smiles at me, I go to, and I said, oh, so we're going, when baby smiles at me, I go to.
Where do you
baby
go?
Smiles at me, I go to. And we go, heaven.
Heaven?
Oh, heaven's no good, you know. So we did about 10 minutes, we were trying to find a place to go. And then I just said, Rio. And she said, Rio? And I said, De Janeiro. She said, oh, all right. So then we wrote it real quick.
It just came like that.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe, I'd been trying to get to Rio for years, and I figured maybe if I wrote something with it, someone might invite me from, you know, the state.
Did it work?
Worked like crazy.
They took you down
I got
to Rio,
there the
right?
next year,
How about
yeah.
Continental American? That's one of my personal favorites.
You like that?
Yeah. I miss that in
yeah.
Up in One. But you can't put everything in.
We tried. At one point, there were 45 songs in it. I felt we had to cut something.
It's tough when you do 2 shows Friday and Saturday to pump out. But how about Continental American? Where does the melody line from that come from in your little brain?
I don't have melody lines that come before lyrics. I usually have to have a line, and that was written with Carol Sager. And we wanted to write about the times we'd have when we used to go to discotheques before discotheques were discotheques. About 8, 9 years ago, we used to stay out every night. When I first got to New York, you just used to go out every night.
Where did you go when you first hit New York, some of the big hot spots?
Well, we used to go to Arthur a lot, which was the first kind of, it was named after the Beatles' haircut, if you can imagine that. So it was owned by Sybil Burton and Roddy McDowell or something, and it was just lines. It was the Studio 54 of its day. And we just...
You have any trouble getting in?
Where? To Arthur? Oh, it was much tougher than Studio 54 to get in. But I arrived there one night. I went to the opening night, and there were all celebrities every place. So there was like literally one of my first nights in New York, so I was standing in line thinking, gee, look at all these celebrities standing in line. And all of a sudden, the guy at the door goes, hey, and points to me. And he's not letting anyone in, not Rock Hudson, no one he's letting in. He says, aren't you Peter Allen? So everyone looks around like, who the... So he said, I'm Mr. Allen, come in, you know. So I was ushered through with my party, who were more amazed than me. And he said, oh, he said, I just saw your mother at Bondi Beach, and she said, if I saw you in America to take her. He was from Australia, too, you see.
Funny, funny story. Let's take a break. We're going to play,
okay.
I think we're playing out with I'd Rather Leave While I'm in Love, which is my current Peter Allen
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, that's
I like
good.
That one too.
Excellent song. We'll be back right after this. Okay, Peter Allen is our guest. If you want to go see him, he's going to be at the Biltmore. Can we make the big announcement right now? Show is going to be...
Yeah, sure you can. Extended, we sold out, so we extended for another 3 weeks.
I think if you wanted, you could probably stay on most of the summer if you didn't have any other place to go.
Well, we'll see.
I think that'd be
I'm having
fun.
a good time here.
Absolutely. Peter records for A&M Records, and this is his current album. I blew the title before. I won't now. I Could Have Been a Sailor. And it's a good piece of work. All
my living room.
It is? At the beach?
Uh-huh.
What enabled you to have the house at the beach? Which specific song bought the house at the beach? Can you just tinkle? Give us a hint?
Maybe I hang around here a little more than I should. We both know I've got somewhere else to go. But I've got something to tell you I never thought I would, but I believe you really ought to know. Love you, I honestly love you.
Thank you. That was it, huh?
Yeah.
Nice tinkle. Now, did the words come first on that?
I wrote that with Jeff Barry, who wrote Do Run, Run, Run and all that in the 60s. So I thought, oh, great, I'll get together with Jeff Barry. We'll write another Do Run, Run, Run. So we came up with Honestly Love You.
You've worked with a lot of really good songwriters. I met a young guy backstage after the show last week who's written 3 or 4 new songs that you're introducing.
There's 8 new songs in the show.
Yeah.
Dean Pitchford wrote 4 of them, I think, and Carol Sager wrote 2, and Marsha Malamet, a new writer, wrote 1.
Had you, at one point, pretty much just settled into saying, well, I'm not going to perform much, I'm just going to be a songwriter for a while? Wasn't there a period where you were pretty quiet as a performer?
Yeah, when I discovered I could write songs, which was about 8 or 9 years ago, I decided that I would just be real serious and just sit and play my nice little songs at the piano. So I did that for a while, and then I got bored to death, so I just went back to one of those, and then one up and wiggling, and then one, and then another one up and wiggling.
One up and wiggling?
One up. Well, like for every ballad, I needed a Rio.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, I was getting.
But now at Broadway, you don't have to do it that way, though. I mean, you can do consecutive ballads if you want.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I came to Broadway, because when I was working, it'd be, you know, at a New Jersey high school gym, and you didn't really have control over the sound, the lights, so it was easy to do Rio 5 times in a row.
Does it bother you, or did it bother you, that the audience would want to hear Rio right away when you come out on stage? I mean, you got so much rich material. The fact that that was maybe the biggest hit.
Well, that's the reason why I went to Broadway, is that I can now sit down in a theater when people are really listening and do a couple of ballads in a row, and it works.
It's true. Let's get. We have some questions from the gang here. Hi. First up.
Okay. Peter, I wanted to ask you, since so many of your songs and ballads that you write and sing are about loving and relationships, if it's personalized from your own experience, or if it just happens.
Yeah, all my songs are biographical in a way.
Yeah, I had a feeling they were.
Yeah, but it's weird. Usually the song that you think is about someone is not about that person, it's about someone else, or it's about a couple of people.
Okay.
And it's difficult when you're having a relationship and you write a love song that has kind of an unhappy ending. They get real upset. They think, so it's not really about you, you know.
Okay, thank you.
So like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't want to do that. All right, next. Hi.
Hi.
I want to know where you found the girl who's in the show with you.
Her name is Lenora Nemitz, and when I was going to do the Broadway show, someone came up with the idea that I should have a girl in the show as well, so there'd be someone else on stage. And I looked at some film clips because I needed someone who was compatible with me and could be funny and could sing and could dance. And she had replaced Cheetah Rivera in Chicago and replaced Gwen Verdon. So. And she'd also stood by for Liza at one point, so I figured that we might have something in common. So.
I also want to know, how come Quiet Please isn't in the show? Because that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Quiet Please was the last one to go. That was in for a long time. It's just, I've been doing a lot of things a long time, and sometimes it's best to give certain songs a rest.
Yeah.
So that I might put it back in at one point.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. I think I have one more. This woman could be a sailor in this outfit.
Really?
Sure. Hello.
Red, white, and blue. I'm interested in knowing when and where you met Liza Minnelli.
Where?
And the exact time, please. Eastern Standard Time.
We met in London. I knew her mother in Hong Kong, and then I went over to London. And we met. She was over there doing a concert with her mother at the Palladium, and we met over in London, became engaged in London.
I have that album, I think, from that Palladium concert. It's an interesting album.
It was an interesting concert.
Where did you first meet Judy Garland? And where did she first see you perform? Because you toured Europe as what, her opening act, Peter?
Yeah, and we toured America, too. We were at the Hong Kong Hilton.
Oh, nice gig. You and Chris?
Yeah.
And that was not original material, right, that you were doing?
No, I didn't write songs at that point.
When did you mentioned before about writing, and you discovered you could write songs. I mean, this is not something you did as a youngster. What was the first song you wrote?
The first song I wrote was one called Sunday Morning, when I was walking through the park. I was just talking to myself, and then at the other end of the park, I thought, I think that's a song. So I went home to the piano, and I sat down at the piano, and it was a song when I finished.
Well, that's a fabulous surprise. I mean, to be a performer and then to end up with such incredible success as a songwriter is great.
Yeah, it was. It came at exactly the right time, too.
Yeah, true. Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering, on your live album, it says special thanks to Peter Frampton for showing me the way, and I was just wondering what you meant by that.
Peter was recording his album at the same time that I was doing my album, the live album, and we have the same manager. And I was having a problem trying to mix my record, and he came in and just said, oh, this goes here, and so he spent about 4 days mixing the first 4 or 5 tracks of the album.
What does mixing? Why don't you just take a second and explain what that is?
Mixing is where you have everything on separate tracks. You have the guitars, the voice, the audience, the applause, and to put them together is not as easy as you'd think, and he knew how to do it correctly.
Do you feel at this point a compulsion to try to have a disco hit? I mean, Don't Wish Too Hard, I think, is, or could be, certainly, and easily could be a disco hit. Is that really important to most people at this point? Does disco dominate the music that much?
I don't know about most people. I happen to think disco is very good because it has taken the place of a lot of kind of corny songs that normally would be bouncing around.
You mean sort of like Skies Are Always Blue in Seattle, stuff like that?
Well, that's... I've never heard that one.
Oh, Perry Como.
Skies Are Always Blue in Seattle. Yeah, it's taken the place of like a lot of novelty songs, so it gives a chance for a really good ballad occasionally to come through.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think it's good.
Also, I think some disco songs have very interesting lyrics. Don't Wish Too Hard has great lyrics. I Will Survive is fabulous.
Fabulous song, yeah.
Yeah, really good song.
I love disco if it's a good song to start with.
How much do you practice or dancing every day? You're such an excellent dancer, and you kick your legs so high, so very high
I've always
above
had
your
that
head.
Strange talent.
Yes,
yeah.
to be able to do that. But I think, I mean, I see you at the stretching bar. Is this my imagination?
No, this was, for this show, I actually took dance lessons, and I'd never done that in my life, because there's choreography in the show. So I was doing like 2-3 hours a day of doing nothing but that, which nearly killed me, but now I feel better that I did it.
You know, but I'm trying to think, where does this little boy who grows up in this small town in Australia, right, happens to have a piano in the house, inherit this natural talent, never took dancing lessons, right, never took piano lessons? Where is it coming from?
My mother's wondering the same thing.
Fabulous, really. Peter, I think you're great.
Oh,
I think
thanks,
you're